special concurrent hybrid meeting of the City of Reno Recreation and Parks Commission, the City of Sparks Parks Recreation Commission, and Washoe County Open Space and Regional Parks Commission. And it's going to be a little bit informal as we go through this. We only get together once a year, so a lot of faces come and go, so we don't always necessarily remember who everybody is. So I'm going to call the City of Reno Recreation and Parks Commission meeting to order. I'd ask the chair of Washoe County to call your meeting to order.
Very well.
City of Sparks, who's the chair of City of Sparks? Okay. Meeting called to order. All right, so our three commissions are meeting and we're going to go into roll call. And since we don't know everybody out there and you don't all know us, as we go through roll call by commission, at least if we could do a little wave, so at least you can tell who we are and we can tell whoever's sitting up here. So if I could ask Dammers for the City of Reno, if you could do roll call.
Craig Bronson, Chair.
Here.
Marie Kruger, Vice Chair.
Here.
Ian Anderson.
Here.
Jerry Wager. Okay, not yet. Tara Webster. Carla Warninghouse was reported to be absent. Cheryl Guinan online. Perfect. And we have 2 vacancies. And then we also have Council Member Miguel Martinez with us today. And then I'll go ahead and read the bit.ly link into the record, which is https://links links.reno.gov/parks joint joint commission commission -06-26-25. And then Sparks, if you want to read your roll call.
One moment, this is Commissioner Lisa Rhodey for the Parks Commission. You didn't call me, Jill, my camera's broken.
That was for the City of Reno commission members,
me.
and then we'll go to Sparks, and then we'll go to Washoe.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, City of Sparks roll call. Terry Frigoli, not present. Chair. Megan Menser, Vice Chair. Tracy Gale. Sheena Harvey. Bobby Michael, absent. Matthew Robinson, absent. Melanie Joel Short.
Present.
Thank you. And then council member with us is Donald Abbott. We have a quorum.
Okay, and Washoe, would you like to read?
Neil Jones, Chair.
Present.
Tim Dake, Vice Chair.
Present.
Chris Baker. Miles Gertler. Sean Hill.
Here.
Kevin Joel. Tracy Kuzinski. And Lisa Rhodey.
Present.
I also have our our Board of County Commissioners liaison, Marluz Garcia here, sitting at the dais.
Welcome. We're going to move into public comment. This is an opportunity for anybody in the audience or who's online. And I think Dammers for online, they raise their hands so we can recognize. Is that true? We'll do.
That's correct.
Okay. So we'll start with anybody here. We do request that you fill out a form so that we have the information on who you are. So with that,
I do have one so far. Is it Ron Hell or Rangel? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't typically speak at parks open space issues. I'm usually more of a development and economic development person, but perfect opportunity to talk about something that I think is very important. I had to write this down because I don't want to forget what I'm going to say. I am a resident of the City of Reno. In my opinion, the number one asset our region has today is the opportunity for great outdoor activities. When you consider our proximity to Lake Tahoe, other parts of the Sierra Nevada, and our high desert, coupled with 196 park sites in Washoe County, Reno, and Sparks, those amenities add to the quality of life for our residents, businesses, and tourists. Now is a critical time to improve and expand these open spaces and make them part of our economic engine. No longer can we depend on the 1950s economic model of casinos paying our bills. Over 20 years ago, tribal gaming in California and elsewhere took a big toll on our revenue stream. Over 20 casinos have closed in Reno alone from 1990 to 2020. If California approves online gaming, which could happen in about 2 years, there could be an even bigger negative impact on our casino revenues. If built, the Pen Grove flat fields would generate tournaments and could help fill vacant hotel rooms in Reno and Sparks. While this will not solve the large budget gaps of our local governments, it is a start. In addition, rebranding our region as an outdoor enthusiast mecca could have a significant positive financial impact on our region. Our local governments need to work with EDON to help attract new high-paying industry sector jobs that can afford market rate housing and enjoy our great outdoors. But we must improve our quality of life to achieve this. So properly funding our park system and open space system is critical. Thank you.
Gamers, are any more cards?
We've got Karen is it Miller or Mueller? Or Moeller, Mullen, possibly. Mullen, okay, thank you.
Thanks. My name's Karen Mullen, and I am a Washoe County resident, but a true believer in all of our park systems, regional parks, open space, and trail systems throughout this community. It is the fabric of our community, and I'm the prior director for Washoe County Parks. I should say prior director. But what I would like you to know, and the gentleman spoke very well to it, it's been a long time since we've brought together our master plans and looked at funding. In 1962, they did a regional parks and open space plan and began to fund how we were going to pull together our open space lands. It was then in 1979-80 that we did the Rancho San Rafael bond issue, voter approved. It was another 20 years later in 2000 when we did a bond issue here locally and approved the funding where you see the fields out in Spanish Springs or in North Valleys or South Valleys, the big ball fields that you see. We also did the libraries out there. We also then really focused on getting access to our public lands and trails and trailheads. And we also worked with the state bond issue, combining and leveraging funding to work on our Truckee River to provide some flood attenuation areas and zones, which are important to our community. So my point is simply, it's been a long time, and we're so glad. I'm so appreciative of these three commissions coming together to look at marrying your master plans to some funding sources. So thank you for doing that. And I look forward to seeing how this all falls out. It's just important to find options for the community and options for our elected officials. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Gamers, anymore?
Yes, sorry, I'm working the clock.
That's okay.
Will it go? Okay, and then we've got Iris. Iris, I'm gonna mess up your last name, I'm sorry. Jill Papard? Close enough? Jaylee, thank you. More enunciation as well. Hi, Iris. I can speak loud. Oh, okay.
Okay, there, that works. Okay. I'm Iris Jaley Papard, the Executive Director of One Truckee River, and I also wanted to share, as Karen did, thank you so much for bringing the topic of the service plan forward. And as you all know, the Truckee River is a humongous asset for this region, and it needs a lot more love and care. There is riverbank repair along with recreational and public utilities, such as more public bathrooms. I mean, the list goes on, right? And we have plan after plan that has beautiful vision, but vision needs money. And so I really appreciate that we're exploring these options, and I'm totally in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I have Sonia Folsom as well.
Hello, Sonia Folsom for the record. Full disclosure, I work for Truckee Meadows Water Authority, but I'm here today on behalf of One Truckee River. I'm board president and work very closely with Iris and the rest of the board and all our volunteers and contractors to ensure that the Truckee River is usable and friendly and safe. And I fully support the service plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have in person. Is there anyone online? No? Okay.
All right. Thank you. We're going to move on to agenda item 4, which is approval of the agenda for June 26, 2025. Staff has requested we pull item 6.5. The Parks Foundation is unable to be here tonight, so they asked that that be pulled off. So are there any other additions, corrections from anyone? And since this is an action item, when we have a motion and a second, if you could give your name and what commission you're with, it'll make it easier for our note takers to keep
Each,
track of who's doing what.
Craig, each commission needs to.
We need to do it
yeah,
individually? All right.
correct.
Well, that makes it easier. All right. So are there any additions, corrections to the agenda? Then for the city of Reno, if I could have a motion to approve the agenda for June 26, 2025.
Marie Kruger, Reno. I make a motion to approve the agenda for the 26th of June, 2025.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Cheryl Guinan, I'll second that motion.
Okay. We have first and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Passed unanimously. We'll go to City of Sparks.
I will move that we approve the agenda.
Can you please state your name and the commission?
Apologies. Jill Short, City of Sparks.
And a second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes.
Washoe County.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Chair Jones, this is Commissioner Joel. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment mentioned by the city of removing 6.5.
Thank you. Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Rhodey, I will second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries.
Thank you. We now move to item 5, approval of the joint meeting minutes from May 16th, 2024, which was the last time we met as 3 commissions. Do we need to do that by commission too? All right, we'll do the same thing.
That's
City of Reno Recreation and Parks Commission. Are there any additions, corrections to the minutes of May 16th, 2024? If not, can I have a motion to approve? Joint meeting from May 16th, 2024, Ian Anderson, City of Reno. Thank you. Do we have a second? Thanks, Tara. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passed unanimously. Thank you. City of Sparks?
Quick question, does City of Sparks need to vote to approve since we did not have a quorum?
No, you do not.
Okay. We'll pass. Washoe County.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the past meeting last year as written?
That's Commissioner Date. Basin Regional Park Commission. I motion that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Rhodey, I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries.
Thank you. Move into item 6.1, presentation, update, and discussion of the Park District Service Plan, which is for discussion only. Nathan, I think we're turning that over to you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Nathan Olliott, Parks and Recreation Director, City of Reno, for the record. I'm happy to take a brief moment to introduce our consultants on the service plan that we'll all work together on to move to decision points, as Karen said in public comment. I'd like to introduce Leon Younger and Scott Volmer with Pros Consulting. We're very excited. We think I was hoping public comment was going to be short because we're the choir. So hopefully we're not preaching to each other too much. So thank you all for understanding that and reading the room. We're going to get right to Leon and Scott to tell us what the next steps are going to be through this process, which is going to be intensive. It's going to involve all of us. And at the end of it, it's going to involve even more of us. So it'll kind of dovetail into the second item. But for now, I want to introduce Leon. Leon, thank you very much for being here and taking the time to introduce what the service plan is, what it isn't, and how we're going to do it together.
Thank you, Nathan. We'll start with, we have a PowerPoint that we'll walk you through, Scott.
Leon, you guys should be able to share a screen now. You're enabled.
All right, thank you. And everybody good?
Make it full, if you don't mind. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much for the opportunity to work with you on this service plan. It takes a lot of effort on everybody's part to basically do a plan like this. We've been involved with many plans across the United States and various cities where they've done this approach. And I think it's really important that everybody understands that what our job is to use data and look at all the best practices we can work with you on to give you the opportunity to either move on this or not. A lot of times I think people think that our job is to create it. Our job is to demonstrate how feasible it is. So we'll start with the first slide there, Scott. So a service plan, one of the main goals of the service is to develop a sustainable and flexible funding and governance model that reinforces regionalism and cooperation to support sustainable finances and management solution. This assures that the city and regional residents can benefit and make the most of the funding resources that are available. The model of a special district focused solely on parks, recreation, open space, and trails that would specifically support the Truckee River corridor that traverses through multiple jurisdictions. Developing cooperation between agencies creates a positive relationship for both cities and counties to work together, and the community is more supportive of parks and recreation when they do so. Next. So the service plan should also address what role citizens, business, not-for-profit organizations, and universities should play in city and county park management, with the potential for Washoe County lands bill to be approved in the coming years and more land is developed from BLM properties. A service plan would help set the stage to prepare for future growth. The Truckee Meadows region will continue to grow, and the service plan can lay out the groundwork to prepare the city and participating agencies to meet the needs of existing and future parks and recreation services and facilities.
Could you try again?
What was that?
Oops. I think that was on your end, Leon.
Okay, next slide. So in our scope, what we've outlined here, and I'll just highlight it. First of all, we want to collect as much data as we possibly can on the cities of Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County, their past plans, what their action plans and visions have been, and kind of create a set of data points that we want to look at. And through the process of doing this, keeping all of those action items at the forefront of what is desired so that we don't lose sight of that. But when we put a plan together like this, we need to draw out how those actually could be incorporated into the service plan. We will look at a SWOT, which is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis of the entire group, the three agencies involved, what everybody brings in terms of strengths and opportunities, so that we're able to capitalize on everybody's strengths and how they would collectively have the capability of working together. We have in our scope to interview 40 participants, and part of this meeting tonight is for you all to identify who those 40 participants are, so that we're able to, across the board, be able to address and really get an understanding of not only people's vision, but what are they most concerned about, so that we're managing against outcomes. And in this process of doing this, we keep those outcomes at the forefront of our work, so that in the process, everybody can see that their interests, their concerns are being addressed through this process. With that, we'll be working with the agencies involved in terms of a memorandum of understanding of how we want to work with them, what they're looking for from us, so that we are taking into account all of the history, the long-term impacts that they've had, understanding some of the issues that they deal with. And so we are clear on their capabilities, what they're capable of or what they're not capable of. We'll be looking at the demographic and trends for the region, not just now, but for the next 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. So we're in tune with what the impacts of the park system will be on population growth and the type and and where that growth is going to occur and how we're going to manage against that. We'll be doing a level of service for each agency, and level of service really breaks down each park system into acres per thousand, miles per thousand, square footage of space per thousand. Everything that has to do how a park system operates and maintains, we'll be able to look at the fairness and equity that is occurring across the system now, and how we address the future growth, and those that are underserved now, how do we address that through a level of service model, which really helps everybody that's involved in this process to understand the strengths of the systems and what are the weaknesses of the systems. Next slide. We'll also look at the organizational structure of the three agencies involved from a functional perspective, where there is duplication and whether that duplication is needed or not, and how we would look at how the organizations would align themselves to achieve the outcomes that this plan could meet, and what areas we're short on positions or types of jobs, and how those jobs would actually be created in the future if this is a feasible process. The whole service plan basically is set up by statute of what we have to follow, and make sure that we follow. And I think Nathan's probably has given all of you that in the past, so you're well aware of it. Based on my work so far with this process, people are really in tune with what's going on in the region, and people are very informed about this whole process. We'll be doing a county-wide survey, and we'll be doing it by the cities involved as well as the county. We're working with ETC Institute out of Olathe, Kansas. They're the largest Parks and Recreation survey firm in the United States. They've done over 700 Parks and Recreation System master plans, surveys, and we've worked with them for more than 30 years. And so we know how to adjust this, but the people in the room you'll all have an understanding of the question, why we're asking the question, what are the outcomes we're looking for out of the question. That process will be a very important process for all of you to weigh in on, so you can see yourself in the plan, you can see yourself in those questions. Through the process of the survey and the results of the survey, we'll be developing what we would consider the feasibility piece of it, and the operational planning process of how we would look at a district, what the service district would look like and how it would be organized and function. And out of that, we would have a lot of public, including all the people in the room here, but also everybody who is in the leadership positions in your region would need to weigh in. So we're making sure that we're being fair and equitable, as well as really making sure that everybody understands what you can and can't do. And then really creating a planning document that is action driven, based on, first, second, third, fourth, fifth steps that go along, what needs to happen, and what the feasibility component will need to be, and what kind of funding options are in front of you, and how the public would react to those, and what would be the actions on those funding options. And then we'll be able to put together a plan for all of your review and approval process, and whether you move forward or not. A lot of times when we do a plan like this, and people want to get to the end quickly without going through all of the data work and all of the public process to make sure we don't miss anything. I know that there's various advisor groups that we'll be working with as well that have a long history of looking at this process for a long time. So they're well in tune with what is going on. Our job is to, use all of our experience. I've been in the business for 50 years. I was a practitioner for 20 and a director in 4 different park systems. My director's work included 2 park districts, the largest county park system in Missouri, and also I worked as a city county director for Indianapolis, which is a city county combined system. So I have experience in both cities, counties, and joint agreements and park districts. So, and this process is not new, but a lot of cities are continually looking to do this. A couple years ago, we were involved in Bozeman. And so, there's other agents, but we've done a lot of different agencies across the country over the last 30 years. And, it has played out really well for the people when they've done it. But, everybody has to recognize that this is about your future, and not managing your past. This is about the future. Next slide. So, you all know the agencies involved, the elected officials and jurisdictions everybody understands. You guys will all work together on who we need to be, the stakeholders and advisor groups. Out of this work, we'll be really organizing the survey questions, because this will lead us to what people are most interested in, and also what they most value. What do they want to hear from the rest of the community regarding certain elements of a service plan that they're most concerned about. Next. And so, our work will be to get in front of you several times, to share data, to share information, to share perspectives, share results, so that the governing groups and the park boards and staff and directors can see the fairness that we're approaching this work in, to maximize every resource you have, to build a feasibility study and a service plan that everybody would be proud of and be willing to invest in. Next. So our goal here, and like I'll get to meet all of you shortly, but is to gain support for the potential of a park district, establish public support, and then where that support is strong and where it's weak, promote financial funding, all the options. We want to give you as many options as we can, so that everybody understands how it would work and how it would be funded and how it would be put into practice, both capital as well as land acquisition, as well as operations, and then to demonstrate how to organize and move it forward, so that there's a great spirit of energy going into it, and it gives you the ability not to manage from a defensive position, but from a very strong offensive position of moving forward. Next. These are just some examples of organizations that we've been involved with over the last 30 years in helping put together joint systems, either park districts or city county combined systems. So I just share that with you because a lot of times people say, well, where have you done this before? So this is what we've been involved with. Next. Part of our work is, and Nathan had brought this forward in Bozeman, we kind of had 3 levels of kind of how to approach it from a bronze, silver, or gold perspective. And that really played well in Bozeman. But I think it's important to recognize that as we move forward, that you have options, and we're going to try to give you the greatest amount of options to make a decision on, and whether that you feel your community will invest in this future service plan and this park district based on the options that best fit the values of your community. Next. So with us, as I'm working with Pros as the lead on this project, I'm also working with the past city manager who's worked with us over the last 20 years off and on, Mike Shalato. He was a city manager in Roseville, but he was the park and recreation director there for about 25 years, but he's also been his own consultant for the last 10 years, and he'll be working with us. Baker and Tilly, everybody across this country knows their capabilities and expertise, and then ETC. So that's our team. Okay. So do you have any questions for us that I can answer?
You want to lead the questions or?
Well, this is some time for our appointed commissioners from the Rec and Parks Commissions to ask if there's anything you're curious about. A lot of them are going to be, the answers will be, it depends, but understanding the process, I think, is the goal of this presentation. So if there's any questions about that, we have some time to do that. So thanks again, Leon.
And I'd ask that you introduce yourself and your commission, just so that we keep track of who's
Yes,
here
and,
tonight.
and
So-
for the folks at the table, please use the microphones just because it's being recorded and it's hard to pick you up anywhere else. So thank you.
So do we have any questions? This is just take an opportunity to go ahead and ask. Oh, Marie has one. Go ahead.
So Marie Kruger, City of Reno, do you have an estimated timeline from start to completion of plan? Is there any ideal timeline or?
Well, we're thinking about 9 months to a year. The survey itself will take about 3 months. So that's a big component. But in our discussions with Nathan, we're kind of in that 9 months to a year process. Okay.
Thanks.
Other questions? No other questions. Leon, you did a great job. They don't have any questions for you.
But, well, I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you for the opportunity, and we'll give you the best that we can.
We do
Okay.
have other questions. So
Yeah,
Ian,
sir,
go ahead.
Ian Anderson from the city of Reno. Could you
Okay, sorry.
describe what the public process is? What are the steps that you take to engage the public, and what does that look like?
Well, right now we've got the 40 questions. We've also have focus groups set up of special interest groups that are a part of meeting with various groups that kind of align with each city. We have the statistically valid survey, and then we'll have an online survey as well that anybody can basically respond to.
How is the statistically valid study administered?
It's random. It matches the demographics of each community plus or minus 4%. There are 4 ways that a person can take the survey. They can do it by mail, which when you get the survey in the mail, you can put it in a postage paid envelope and send it back in. You can take the survey online. Because there's a link from there that you can take the survey online. If you speak a different language, you can call in and make a reservation time to actually do the survey in your language online, or you can take it by your phone.
Thank you. And is public meetings part of that process?
We will. We're going to have several. I think we have 3 set up in our schedule for public input. coming as we deliver pieces of the work. There'll be public opportunity to respond to it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other question? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Hill with the Washoe County Open Space and Regional Parks Commission. And my question, this might be a Nathan question. How will these three bodies be involved after today with this work? Is it going to be a meeting next year, or is there going to be interim steps that we'll all be involved with?
So Leon and I spoke about this a little bit. Mostly it was to get ready for tonight. Part of that is it depends, but our discussion was sort of to try to find 2 or 3 checkpoints where maybe it's a presentation to either Reno Parks and Rec Commission or Washoe's Commission, but everybody can listen in and get the update. So it wouldn't be a joint meeting necessarily, but that people could hear from the consultant and from staff to get an update on where we are in the process, where it is to engage the other stakeholder groups around the region, things like that. So we're looking at that as a part of the development here. And our next item, we'll talk a little bit about that with stakeholder development and a list development. So, but that would be the goal, is to come back to at least one of the commissions so that everybody could hear it again. So.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones here. I want to thank you, sir, Mr. Younger. That was an excellent presentation. I really appreciate it. One of my questions, how do you quantify the trends out 30 years? What kind of a matrix, or how do you proceed with something like that?
Well, it's really more projections based on population trends. And there's a lot of, we use Esri, and there's other agencies that are in play. We're going to try to look at what does the school systems project out from, because they're always looking ahead. We look at Esri, we look at the trends in the marketplace, especially recreation trends. But we know how those can shift fairly easy as well. What our thing is to give you what we think and basically see how you all feel or react to them, because we're just working off of data that we can find and data that we trust.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, Tracy Kozinski, Washoe County Parks and Open Space Commission. I have a question for municipalities, jurisdictions that have proceeded with a plan, Nashville and Davidson County, for example. What happens to the component parts after the joint district is created? How do they continue to exist or work together?
Basically, the ownership of the land and the ownership of the facilities go into the district, and the cities basically yield the responsibilities and accountabilities of those spaces to the district. And then the district is responsible for them. We establish where those amenities are in their life cycle, so that if I'll just make it up, but if a playground is at 15 years and we're going to replace it, needs to be replaced within the next 5 years, it's noted that that asset is at this level in the life cycle, so that everybody can understand this is the starting point of the system. Okay. And so there'll be some things that need to be updated. Some things basically don't need any type of improvement for the next 7 or 8 years or whatever it might be. But we have to have a starting place. And part of the assessment of data collection is to look at the life cycle of where those amenities are and what would need to be updated in 5, 10, or 15, 20 years, so that we're projecting what the revenue needs are to cover their improvements.
Chair, this is Commissioner Joel from Washoe County. Again, excellent presentation, as Chair Jones mentioned. I have kind of a question, I guess a spur of discussion. So we have in this region, amongst all the jurisdictions, a whole bunch of kind of plans and consultant ideas that get created, and then they end up on a shelf and gather dust. All sorts of things, not just parks, but all sorts of ideas. And I guess where I want to go with this statement is, how do we make sure that this doesn't end up on the shelf? And for those that haven't been following this process for the last couple of years, from when it was brought to some of the commissions as an idea, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but this still has to go in front of a vote of the people to actually create the district.
Correct.
So this is, I guess, more of a reminder than a question, that once we get this report, it's going to be our duty collectively to continue to push this forward and advocate for it, so that it actually comes to fruition, so that the funds that are being spent with the consultants here to create this service plan, it's an idea. It's an idea of how this could work. And what I'm hoping to see out of it is how that the three parks departments can work more efficiently as a district. So it's not necessarily a, hey, we're looking for more money. It's, hey, how can we do this more efficiently within the money that we have collectively amongst the three bodies? And I really think that that's how we need to sell it, because I don't think most people are interested in a tax increase. This is just simply shifting from general fund to a parks district tax, very similar to how the fire district works in the county. So I guess that's not really a question. It's more of just kind of a statement. But I guess feel free to add anything that I may have missed, or to clarify anything I said.
Well, you're right on exactly what you said. When you do a plan like this, you have to get everybody to want to act on it. There's always people who feel like they might have lost something versus gain. And the intent is how to demonstrate the value of the change and what it means to not only staff, the community, your assets, the public, the taxpayers, the partners. And you have to carve out everybody's role so they understand what their role is. And, there's a lot of give and take on this stuff. But in every city that we've been involved in, it's paid off immensely in terms of what the park system was able to do after it became a system as one. And so it takes leadership, and all of you are leaders. I mean, everybody in this room is a leader, and it takes leadership to make that happen.
Any other questions? Well, go ahead.
Councilman Donald Abbott. It was Commissioner Jones, right? That's who. Joel, I'm so sorry. I wrote the wrong JO. So following up on that question, this is to Mr. Younger. So obviously we know it's gonna have to go in front of the people. Putting on the political hat, how did other districts, fund that? Like we can't write a check for ballot initiatives. Who gets on board? Who?
The foundations, the parks foundations from the various agencies that have been involved, they raised the money to put the ballot on the ballot. Okay.
So are you talking $1 million, 20,000?
Oh,
Think of like the campaign of, we could talk about how easy it is to rig up a tax, and then everyone hates tax, and then they have that feeling, but it's hard for us to explain it, whatever it ends up, and all the good that obviously I'm not saying good or bad, where it's at. So.
Well, that's part of the survey, is to say what are people's tolerance? Okay. When we did this in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, which is a very large system, it passed by 72%. People saw the value of it, and they saw, that their needs being met at a different level. And if you follow anything with Charlotte Mecklenburg County, what they've done to balance recreation and parks and open space is phenomenal. And so I think the big thing is people, how efficient can these organizations be, but also what are the revenue opportunities that are available to you? And across this country, there's more than 120 ways park systems are funded. Most systems only really look at maybe 20 or 25 different funding models. And you just have to decide, does this fit in your value system or doesn't? If it doesn't, it's okay. My thing is to give you the obvious and say whether you want to do it or you don't. And so our job is to work with Baker Tilly on all those options, and they know your region well, and to basically look at those, and you all decide whether it's feasible. Again, this is a feasibility study, and so I want to, if you don't think it's feasible, that's your call. But our job is to give you every right answer.
Understood. If I can ask one more.
Sure, go ahead.
And I'm not trying to beat too much of a dead horse on this one. So looking at, if you mentioned Charlotte, right? That was the reference or the example. So
That's just one that we've been involved with.
got you, and that's fine. So looking at that one, what were some of their issues they were looking to improve, as well as, were they looking? I forgot your breakdown of I think it was platinum, gold, silver. Did they shoot for? I don't know what they shot for. Let's just say they shot for gold. Is there a little buyer's remorse that they didn't shoot for platinum? They passed it 72%. Would platinum got them at 51%, but a little bit more money? Is there anything like that, or?
Well, Charlotte was, first of all, the system was not a balanced system across both the city and the county. There were a lot of areas that were underserved, highly underserved. People really wanted to make sure that there was a much more fairer system. So recreation facilities showed up stronger in underserved areas. The county itself had a large open space element, a very large open space. They were high into preservation, and the balance between recreation and preservation was an element that needed to be balanced. Probably the most difficult thing was who's going to run it. I mean, what's the leadership between these organizations, and who is leading the new district? And so that was by far the most difficult thing, was to be able to get everybody to agree that this is how the organization would function. This is how it would be funded. These are the funding sources. This is the capital priorities across the service district. This is the order of capital improvements that would make the system better. And that's, if people see the value of it, it's just what is the order? And the order and action was where I wouldn't say struggled, but it took some time. You can't push. You have to get people to see, when do I get my turn, and when is that? And when it's your turn, you go. And I think somebody mentioned that they don't want it to sit on a shelf. If this is feasible, you'll want to do it, and you'll want to do it fast.
Thank you.
Nathan, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Maybe a clarification / question for Leon. Leon, as we understand in NRS, if we do the service plan and we stay within the boundaries of NRS, this is something that the jurisdictional bodies can create. They can create the district. I think what would need to go to a vote of the public, more than likely, not necessarily, but more than likely, would be if there was a desire to raise funding, sales tax or something like that. The assessment, they could levy a special assessment. There are certain things they could do without it being a ballot initiative. That doesn't mean we wouldn't want it to be a ballot initiative, but in NRS, we do, I believe, have the ability to create the district with the jurisdictional bodies, elected bodies. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then just
you're correct.
One sort of statement. I think you kind of hit on it at the end, Leon. I think what I would say the difference in this plan is at the end there are decisions to make, right? For these bodies, for the Sparks City Council, for Washoe County's Board of Commissioners, City of Reno City Council, there is a decision point at the end that brings funding or has an opportunity to develop funding, which is different than our master plans, which say, oh, good news, you're 300 million behind, and it's about 1.5 billion over the next 3 years to get caught. So this is the difference for that. So there will be a choice at the end, and if it sits on the shelf, that will be a choice.
Very, very well said.
Do we have questions from our other policymakers that are here, or from staff? I know staff's going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, working on this as a part of all the other work they've got to do. But any other questions? I'm going to open this up since this is a public meeting. If there's any questions from the public, I hope we keep this short, but if anybody has a question about this is the time to do it. We look out there and think that this is our supporters in the audience. So go ahead. Just introduce yourself if you could.
Hi, I'm Valerie Truce. I live in South Reno. I have a question because sadly we just saw the library. We had a vote on whether or not we were continue a tax for the libraries, and it was voted down. And one of the things that I was concerned about that is that there wasn't an education of the community on that. It just kind of appeared on the ballot and people talked about it in their own ways. But I was kind of surprised there's nothing in terms of educating the community about, so it's not like, aha, here we go, and using the media to do that, or social media.
Leon, is that something that you've added into other projects on how you community education, or is that a part of the process?
It's part of the process of who needs to know, how do they need to be communicated with, how do we share information. Typically, we work through some level of an advisory board that we're working with on a kind of daily basis of making sure that they're bringing information to us that we need to be aware of. And then as we work collectively with the three bodies is to make sure that we're addressing and giving each body the information they need.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, Leon. It's Karen Mullen. It's good to see you. And
Nice to say.
yeah, I just had a question or how did you in other plans bring together general improvement districts? We have two general improvement, well, we have more than that, but we have two general improvement districts in particular that have taken on recreation, and they're kind of both ends of the spectrum. One is in Sun Valley, and then one is up in Incline Village at Lake Tahoe. And I'm wondering how you melded that in, because they already have some fees for that, yet they have some needs for taking care of their open spaces and trails and things like that. Did you have a second layer or something that considered how we help integrate them or work with them, etc.? Thanks.
That's a really good question. You know, when we've done this plan, we really look at what is the immediate issue that we need to deal with. And so part of that is to, you know, everybody is, it seems, has done an updated or has done a plan over the last 10 years. And so what portions of the plan actually got done, which ones didn't, what's still relevant, what's not. We need to create kind of a scorecard of what's in play, what's not in play, what's being played, right? What's being planned for, what's not, and kind of really look at who benefits and whether it's public or the resource. And your question is a good question. I don't have the perfect answer. What I have is alternatives to share and kind of let the group that we're working with help guide us. Okay. Because, you know, we have a process, but the process needs to be flexible to match up with what the expectations are of the people who have worked for years to get to this point. And we need to make sure that we hear you and we listen and we provide you information, and then how we use that information collectively. I need to work with the groups to how we're going to use it. Okay.
Thank you. Anything else before we move on?
Yes, this is Commissioner Rhodey. I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
First of all, who engaged these two fellows to help us? And what is it going to cost, and who's going to pay?
I can field that question. Nathan Elliott, Parks and Rec Director, City of Reno. Commissioner Rhodey, the City of Reno had developed a contract with Pros Consulting. Initially, the city approved the contract at a June meeting of City Council, and then was later supported financially by Washoe County with a $100,000 contribution towards that, along with the RDA, the development agency downtown here, who is contributing 60,000. So 3 different agencies contributing to this, to I think also show importance there. Sparks, to be clear, absolutely could have and is very much in support of, at least from a staff standpoint, participating, and they will be participating as a partner in this, as a regional partner. But I didn't mention them in funding because there is a potential that, you know, depending on how the district shakes out, it may not benefit everybody. So rather than have it go back and forth, if Reno has a district, it will definitely benefit the county. If the county has one, it benefits everybody. It could be a regional river district that would benefit all 3 jurisdictions. So anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Well, are you saying the maximum cost?
Oh, sorry. The contract cost is $223,500. And that includes the scope that Mr. Younger laid out for us earlier.
And this was probably already said, but this is a lot of information to absorb. What is our time frame?
Our tentative goal is 9 to 12 months. It will frankly depend on questions, what we learn through the process, things like that. But 9 to 12 months is the goal to get to those decision points for our elected bodies.
And did each of the agencies, public agencies that's contributing to this approve of these funds to be spent?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Oh, yes, go ahead. We're going to do one more out in the audience.
Hi, Leon. My name is Virginia Larmore. I'm a resident of South Reno. My question, I don't know if you'll be able to call this off the top of your head, but based on the other regions that were shown that were, you mentioned were a success, I think the ones that were probably the most close to ours were Denver and maybe Bozeman. Could you give us any more clarification on what made them a success? Was it the savings of the community, or how well the plan was implemented, or improved support of parks, that sort of thing?
Well, in the Denver plan, they had the mountain parks was a separate district in the city and county. So they brought those all together so they weren't competing against each other. They were supporting each other's needs as a whole, but not trying to compete them against each other. I think the other agencies that are involved, what we always want to do is to make sure that everybody understands the weaknesses of an organization. Typically, when people do this, it's because they don't have the amount of capital dollars to keep up with the growth of the city or the county, and they can't take care of what they already have, and they feel like there's duplication of effort, and so they're constantly in a competition war with a city or a county. And so what they're trying to do is manage efficiency of people, equipment, staff, capital, and also support. And so, I'm not saying there's a perfect model. There's a process, and that process is what we're trying to share here today and start with. And along the way, if there's some adjustments we need to make based on your community, we'll definitely, through the committee that we're working with, we'll do that. Is that fair?
Yes. Thank you, Leon. Yes, we have one more question, Mac. Okay.
I'm Mac Rossi, a resident of Reno. Trying to bring 3 agencies together into one group. Do you have a time frame that you think that you can be able to work that out?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
You didn't hear me?
Mac, Nathan, Parks and Rec Director, for the record, up here to you. There you are, fella. Hey, good to see you. 9 to 12 months is the goal to get again to that decision point for each of the jurisdictional elected bodies. So at that point, that will be the decision point, whether we want to work together, work separately, leave it how it is. But that will be that decision point.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Leon. Great presentation. Appreciate you answering the questions. We're going to move on to item number 6.2. Is Leon staying on with us on this one too?
He's more than welcome to, but I would take this one.
All right. So this is a presentation discussion of stakeholder list for the service plan. So Leon, you're welcome to hang on and listen to us and see where this goes, but you're also excused if you have other things to do. So with that, Nathan,
That's fine.
over to you.
I'll join my wife for dinner. Okay.
Thank you,
Leon.
again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Nathan Elliott, Parks and Recreation Director for the record. This item is really a good continuation of the conversation we just had. Astutely stated that it is going to take the community to drive this. It's not going to be elected officials. If it gets to the point where the Parks Foundation is created and wants to move towards a ballot initiative to develop additional funding, that's not something that staff can lead. That's not something elected officials will lead. That's something the community will have to lead. So this next is an effort to, as Leon stated, develop a potential stakeholder list, make sure we're identifying the right folks as staff to talk to bring up to speed. And we want to do that while it may be a smaller group that works through the service plan. We want to keep all of the groups that we possibly can who would be future advocates for whatever Parks Foundation comes to be. We want to make sure that they're in the loop. So while we're doing this list today, we're also asking that everybody who's here, obviously there's an interest and hopefully some level of support for a park district plan and the service plan to find out what that could mean for our region. We want to get that information so as you heard about this meeting, other people can hear about this meeting and we can continue to educate the community from a grassroots standpoint in addition to traditional media and other marketing efforts. So there is a sign-in sheet for everybody. If you haven't signed in, we want to make sure we get you before the end of the presentation here today and the joint meeting. We are passing around what is a list from our Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan, which is a service provider list. So folks who have been providing services, whether it's a government agency, you can see on here from a nonprofit standpoint, Arts for Nevada, Boys and Girls Club, Children's Cabinet, Discovery Museum. It's a very substantial list. Our goal is to not miss anyone because we're going to need everyone if we're going to build something special in this region and if we're going to kind of turn the tide a little bit when it comes to taking care of our parks and building new parks. So we need people to be aware, be informed. So with that, we have set up, I think it's called, I always mess up the name, Minty.com. It's a little word cloud where folks, if you want to, log in with your phone and you can start, as you see this list, if it gives you ideas through this conversation, who should be on this list that either isn't on this list, or if they're on this list, who should be considered as a primary stakeholder to be involved in these conversations. Obviously, One Truckee River, Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, those folks who are already helping in sort of that maintenance and restoration space. Yes, so anyway, that list is going around. And are we getting Mentee up there?
It's displayed.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
Can we put it on the big one or is that possible?
And then just a note, separate words will show separately. So if you want to use the acronym, go ahead for at least Mentee.
So if you go to Mentee.com on your phone and then use the vote code 14811671, you can, just as we're sort of discussing, and I want to turn it back to the commissions and to the dais to discuss who should be considered as the stakeholder groups. I mean, the obvious group is our elected officials. They're going to make those decisions at the end of the process with the service plan. Our parks and rec commissioners at the different jurisdictions, but also some other groups who should be involved in that conversation, thinking of a core group who strategically will push this forward when it gets to a formation point. So with that, if there's any ideas as you see the list, if it jogs your memory, I'm going to turn it over to the commission and back to Chair Bronson to pass it around. Who should be considered in this group of 40 to 50 interviews that Mr. Younger and his team will push forward? So Craig, is that clear as far as what we're looking for on this next piece?
Let me see if I can recap that. I think first, as everybody has the list, right? Did they pass it out to the audience? Does the audience have it? Okay, Damaris, this list is at that site. Do I understand that right? Oh, it's not.
No, it's not.
Okay.
The site is to help create a list. So I see our Kiwanis bike friends are here. So if we log on and wanted to say Kiwanis will appear next to KTMB as one of the folks who would be on the list.
So I guess the first thing I'd ask from
Showing up on
from
mine.
the three commissions is if you see anybody missing, if there's anybody that's pretty obvious that you'd like to add, let's just add it to the list right now. So if there's anybody that you can think of. Because that's the first part is try to make sure we have a comprehensive list. And then the second part is, are you asking the three commissions to recommend how we whittle this down to 40? Because Leon's going to interview 40.
Yeah, and even getting it down to 50 or 60, including 20 or so elected officials, the chair and vice chair probably of each commission, I would think, but then also I would assume One Truckee River, who is a regional support for our river that would cross jurisdictions, would be a part of this process. The RDA. Staff from each of the jurisdictions would be involved too. So those are starting to get chewed up, but we want to make sure that we get good representation. Nevada Land and Trust I see is getting a few votes. So, but if there's anyone on there, Joel, I saw you grab the mic. Mr. Joel, Kevin.
Yeah, I have a.
Yeah, go ahead. So if there's anyone missing or if there's any of these that you suggest should be one of the lead ones, let's just get it on the record. So go ahead.
I mean, I guess my question is because I mean, this list you said came from the City of Reno Parks Plan.
Yes.
And I mean, speaking for Washoe County and maybe Sparks might want to jump in on this, but I'm seeing a lot of people missing or groups missing that, like, for example, have agreements with Washoe County Parks for, stewardship at a particular park or events that I think should at least be on this list. I mean, granted, if we need to take this list down to, sorry, it was 2 pages, down to 40, there's a lot that are going to disappear. But I look at this list and, there's some that show up twice. There's some nonprofits and the government agencies. There's some groups on here that I'm sort of familiar with them and I don't think they've really done anything more in parks than maybe showed up to a volunteer cleanup day one time. And I would much rather have people that are intimately familiar with parks and their operation and the challenges be part of this, 40-person guiding group than, someone that's part of a group that maybe is great at fundraising, but, they came out and picked up litter for 2 hours and gave themselves a pat on the back for it.
Yep.
So I think my suggestion would be is if maybe we could get county staff and or maybe Spark staff to also come up with a list before we start kind of trying to pull stuff from memory and throw it up on Menti. And then my other kind of question is more procedural of I don't know, is county council here? So we're kind of voting on something, but this is just totally different than how we've ever done a process for a vote. So are we voting on Menti?
We are not. We're trying to. The goal with this item, and put this one on me, is to try to develop a list. And this list is by no means the 40 that we're trying to draw from. This is just an example list of what came out in the pros plan that we had for the city of Reno. We're hoping there's other lists like that or similar, but this is to jog the memory, to get people thinking about who should be involved and be aware of the entire process. And then secondarily, are there groups that we know right now should be involved in that deeper conversation and participation? So this isn't saying these are the people that should be or shouldn't be. This is just a list to get people started. We definitely want anybody who might be interested to know about the process, but it doesn't mean they'll participate. I'm sorry, that's probably getting more confusing.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, these are people that I would send the survey to.
Right.
But I don't know necessarily if I would invite them to be one of the guiding 40.
No, and that is not the point of this list. So if you have somebody who you think would be, that's what we kind of want to talk about. We're not voting today. We're not making a decision. We're having a discussion about who should possibly be considered. Staff will gather that, and then that list will be circulated.
Okay. Well, that's just kind of my fear because I can think of a few that aren't on here that have events or agreements with Washoe County. But I'm afraid I could probably pull 5 or 6 out of the top of my head, but I don't have that master list in front of me, and I don't know if any of staff happens to have that off the top of their head either. So,
oh, go ahead.
Thank you.
Mariluz Garcia for the record. And I would just encourage all of the participants here in the room today to think broadly, that it's not just parks, it's not just trails, it's not just open space. We've also got to think about aquatics and flat fields and all of the different types of amenities, pickleball. I mean, think about all of your friends and neighbors and the hobbies and the ways that they engage outdoors. So think broadly. And Joel, I feel you're super anxious right now about this list. It's going to be okay. I think we're just going to collaborate and throw a bunch of stuff on the wall. And then I think we will make sure that the right people, I hear what you're saying about getting those kind of powerhouse nonprofits and organizations to really take the lead and take the torch moving it forward, because that will basically guide a big portion of the input we receive from this public process. But I'm just excited to see that we have a very comprehensive list already, and we've already added some that we're missing from that list. So keep it coming.
So Nathan, let me ask you kind of a clarification. And I guess I've got to look at you as kind of the lead. I've been involved in a lot of these types of plans. Leon said 9 to 12 months. That's a best case scenario. It's just the reality is that's a best case scenario, because just to take the adequate time, I think for us, because what I'm going to suggest is that the commissions take the list and go back and work with their staffs to develop their part of the list. And then maybe you can at least be the lead that staffs can get together and bring it. And then is from a time perspective, could the commissions at our next scheduled meeting, once that list is consolidated from staff, have the commissions make a recommendation from their perspective? And I wouldn't ask, it has to be 5, 10, whatever it is, just who are the ones that you look at that should be some of the leads that would then go back to staff to get back together and figure out who those 40 are. But that way we could at a regular scheduled meeting, look at the final list, make a recommendation commission by commission back to staff, and then have staff work. Does that at least work? Again, I know 9 to 12 months, we want to get this done, and this kind of delays it, but I really think it probably needs to have some action at a regularly scheduled commission meeting.
No, I think that's right. I mean, again, I think we know probably 30 up front with elected and RDA and some obvious choices. So, but again, this is to also develop the down the road advocacy group, which we hope is huge. So it's really two things: to get people thinking, to get our commissioners thinking, to do exactly what you said, to come back and probably in the form of a survey, recommend back to staff, yes, this is an appropriate person to have in our stakeholder group. We would support that. I think that is what our commissions are for, is to give us that feedback from the public perspective.
Would that make sense, at least as you're looking at this? It gives us an opportunity as a commission to feed through staff, look at the 3 staffs to bring it together, and then the commissions all look at that final list and make a recommendation without a specific number, but these are who the commissions feel should be included. And then again, the heavy work on this process is going to be staff, because you're going to day by day be working on things. We just meet once a month as a commission. So that comment?
Yeah, Commissioner Jewell. Yes, thank you. I think that makes more sense. And like part of it is because, we have some unique facilities with Washoe County that the city doesn't have. So you're not going to have some of these kind of oddball, like the shooting range. We just signed an agreement, and off the top of my head, I can't think of the organization that just took that over. We've got the Reno Disc Golf Association, to make sure that we are reaching out to all of the organizations that have, we've already engaged with stewardship of our parks. And like I said, I can't pull every single one off the top of my head. It sounds like county staff can't either. So I just want to make sure that we are including all of the things that we don't normally think about when we think about parks and how they're used. And we start with the people that are already, kind of have signed an agreement to be like, hey, we want to help out with this particular sport or this particular park. So that certainly makes more sense to me to, figure out how that list is made amongst the individual commissions where we can actually take action. Because is this an action item?
No, this is just a discussion.
So-
Yeah.
Just opening the discussion.
Yep. So any other commissioner comments or questions?
Yes, this is Commissioner Rhodey. I keep hammering on the money because I'm curious, is what we're paying these guys going to cover the surveys and getting the vote, getting it on the ballot, all that.
So the two separate items, the surveys, yes, as a part of the service plan. The ballot initiative would not come until after a parks formation or a parks district would be formed. So if the elected bodies decide to form a park district at whatever level or option, then at that point, the parks district could initiate a ballot initiative with the support of the public.
Did that answer your question?
Sort of. It's what you're saying is that the cost here is not complete.
The cost of running the service plan. So there's the service plan, which gets us in position to decide as the jurisdictional bodies to create a park district. That is covered through that completion and decision point. You asked about a ballot initiative. The ballot initiative would come if the park district decided to go after more than likely in a sales tax funding or something like that. So two separate things.
Okay. And I do agree that there are a lot of groups to consider because the parks do handle some golf courses, tennis courts, and then we've been doing a lot of experimenting with informal dog parks during certain hours. And then there's soccer. So there are a lot of people who need to be surveyed, I think. And
Absolutely.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead.
Nathan, this is probably best for you. So while you were talking, I was also writing, so you might have said something that I may have missed. So I think we're looking to go back to staff, and then you guys will have 40, kind of hopefully come up with 40 or so, 50 off this list and other lists of organizations that we want to, or businesses that we want to engage, correct?
Well, I think initially a big part of that list would be elected officials, one-on-ones with elected officials. So that's where, again, I think Craig's idea, and I think as Kevin said, if we can go back, think through, take this list as an example, not as a holistic, right for everybody. There are tons of folks not on here. This list itself is from our pros plan adopted 2 years ago. So there's more that have come, there's more that have left. That then would be, who do we then add to our elected officials, to our city and our county staff as those folks who will provide the input on what a district could be initially. And then that will go with those ideas to help develop options for the public to consider and participate in from a public comment side. So that could be, again, other organizations. That's what we'll come back with and figure out who fills those 10 to 20 spots.
So then I'm looking to probably give my amazing City of Sparks staff my list that I just wrote out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Roger that.
All right.
So then to recap, as commissioners, we'll be expecting, as soon as is possible, from our staffs to bring back to us a comprehensive list based on what has been provided in each of the 3 jurisdictions. And then also the commission an opportunity to make some recommendations on who those top 40 should be. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And I was just looking at our staff. So I know the other 2 staff are in the room. I don't want to commit something that you can't do. So I just want to make sure that makes sense. And I'm looking at Nathan to just kind of coordinate that, but that's what so is that a fair expectation for commissioners? Oh, okay. Oh. Was there a hand up? Oh, yes. We got to get a microphone to you because it's recorded. You become famous when you come to our meetings.
Hi, Connie Silvera. I'm Reno resident. I was just wondering if there's any appetite to include the Washoe County School District because their school grounds are used as parks so much. So I was just wondering if there was any appetite there.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you.
And I did see them on the list. Washoe County School District. All right. Anything else on this item before we move on? All right. Thank you, Nathan. And thank you, staff. I know how much work you're going to be doing on this, so we appreciate that as the commissioners. So We're going to move on to item 6.3. It's presentation, update, and discussion on the Nevada legislature pertaining to parks and recreation. And I think, Nathan, this is going back to you.
Yes, and happy to have anybody jump in who has other insights. But the big thing I wanted to talk about was Senate Bill 303. Many folks in this room supported verbalizing and writing their concerns to our legislative bodies at the Capitol. Senate Bill 303 essentially impacted what is a very strong halo of liability for and blocking liability for cities and open space and recreation components from being sued. As there's some ways it can happen, but if people are providing access to recreational opportunities into open space, the state has some very powerful legislation to protect cities. So cities, towns, jurisdictions, property owners, so that they're not sued if somebody's injured while using that space. So there was a bill to greatly impact and reduce that, that went and cleared, I believe, the House and the Senate and got to Governor Lombardo's desk. So I'm going to read the kind of the notice of veto that he wrote, just so you can understand it a little more and understand that it probably will come back in the future at some level. And we have to really look closely at it because there were some things, even with some modifications, that really, without the voices of the folks in this room and around our region and around the state, including staff, attorneys, things like that, it could have passed and could have greatly inhibited what development of parks and recreation and trails and open space looked like in the future. So I'm going to read that to you now. This is from Governor's desk. Dear Secretary of State Aguilar, I am forwarding to you for filing within the time limit set forth within the Nevada Constitution and without my approval, Senate Bill 303, which is titled as follows: an act relating to civil liability revising provisions relating to civil liability to persons using certain premises for recreational activity under certain circumstances and providing other matters properly relating thereto. So just like we normally talk, okay? So going on, this provides a little more clarity. While it's important to address imbalances in Nevada's recreational immunity statutes, SB 303 overcorrects in a way that may create new problems. Under NRS 4041-.510, private landowners in rural and semi-rural areas are immune from liability for injuries sustained during recreational activities they permit on their land. However, Section 11C of SB 303 narrows this protection by limiting immunity only to non-residential land. This language could unintentionally exclude landowners who live on their property but still allow the public to use it for recreation, the very kind of voluntary access the statute is intended to encourage. Additionally, there is concern that SB 303 could have a chilling effect on community-driven land use and recreational development, particularly in areas where mixed use or small parcel arrangements are common. By creating uncertainty around who qualifies for immunity, the bill may discourage certain nonprofit organizations from opening their land altogether. I appreciate the significant work that has gone into developing the legislation and recognize its well-intended goals. With further collaboration and refinement, I believe we can achieve a version of this bill that preserves access while avoiding unintended consequences. I look forward to continuing this important conversation with stakeholders during the interim. For these reasons, I will veto this bill and return it to you without my signature or approval. Respectfully submitted, Joe Lombardo. So wanted to read that. Definitely leaves the door open for future opportunities for this to come back. If this had passed, some of the big things that could have happened is you're riding down a bike path, you hit a crack, you fall off. Now where many people probably passed before and didn't have an issue, you could sue the city or the organization who allowed that usage. So that really affects our regional trails, which also go in and out of HOAs. So even as amended, some of our HOAs that allow access for the public to go through their trails would now be liable for that. So not only would that increase their insurance and probably cause them to close that off to the public and greatly reduce access, future developments probably won't put these things in because why have that liability when they don't need it? So many times the developers act as the declarant and are the HOA in that short term, so they would be fielding that cost directly. So that, I think, even as amended, was the biggest concern. So these are the things we need to be aware of. It's a win for now, and thank you for everybody who supported it. Thank you to our commissioners who lent their voice to that concern. It would have been a big challenge, and as it was initially written, probably would have led to a lot of playgrounds shutting down. My friend Connie, who just spoke earlier about some of the slides that are broken. And in the meantime, we'd be closing the whole areas off while we're repairing a space. So it was pretty significant, and it's significant that it did get vetoed. And we need to be aware of these things in the future, but that was the effort that it's going to take for a park district as I segue back to our main purpose tonight. But thank you for everybody who did that. Wanted to give you that update, and I guess stay vigilant and aware and support our park. So thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Any questions or comments? Any of the commissioners?
Yes, Commissioner Rhodey from Parks. Does the county or the city carry any insurance that covers treating injuries?
I can't speak for the county, but the city definitely does. I can't speak for Sparks.
So the way it's set up now, if somebody got hurt, they could file an insurance claim for whatever treatment they have to get. They just wouldn't be able to sue for negligence or other liability.
Yeah, thank you. Eric Crump, Washoe County's Community Services Director. So the county is self-insured, and obviously that is paid through all of us as taxpayers. The way the current legislation and the way it's in place, counties and cities can still be found negligent. We just have to be grossly negligent. We have to know about something and basically fail to act. And so there's still a path for that. But short of that, most of those get kicked out early on, and certainly they can file claims with any of the respective, and they're reviewed by risk and on from there. So.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead. Pass the mic.
Hi, thanks. Nathan, maybe you know the answer to this. What was the problem that legislation was trying to solve?
So when we heard underneath the committee or from the committee, I think the thing that sounds crazy is that they gave an example of a gentleman who was riding down a street in a bike lane. There was construction in the road, and it wasn't properly set up by the construction company that, hey, there's a hazard coming. And so this immunity as it's currently written was utilized by that, I believe, the construction company to stop that case from going through, or would stop things like that. So that's, I think, the well-intended part is we or our contractors, if they're working in our roads, should be diligent, but that was not the intent, I don't think, by that rule. Then that's why it was brought up initially, but then some of the language made it, again, that overcorrection maybe that would really have kind of crippled Parks and Recreation.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Nathan, we'll move to item 6.4. I think you got your name on that too. Thank you.
All right, and I'm excited to introduce Donna Inverson, who is here from Carson, to give us an update on Rails to Trails and the Virginia Range Trail. Do you want to come on up? Do you want to go all the way up, or we can go right up here to the dais, or do you want a microphone from there? I'll do that.
No, I'm okay. Oh, good. Thank you. So where do I point it? Okay.
It's going to be right up in the screen right in front of you. Right.
Great. Thank you. And this mic is live. My name is Donna Inverson. I'm president of the Historic Virginia and Truckee Trails. And I just have to ask a question. How many people are familiar with the Rails to Trails movement? Oh, good. I don't always get that many. So, I'm here to report on where we stand currently with the Rails to Trails, the Historic Virginia and Truckee Trail. So, the Tahoe Pyramid Trail and Veterans Parkway co-signing project. We're working right now with the Tahoe Pyramid Trail Association, and they needed to replace some of their wayfinding signs, and we needed to add ours. So we've decided to create a sign that is both of our signs together, rather than clutter up with a whole lot more signs. And this is what we've got so far. We're almost to the point of getting these signs made. So it's a little bit different than what you've seen in the past. And we're kind of proud of it. It's kind of a bright sign. We think it's going to look really nice. So this was only for the Tahoe Pyramid Trail. We have a grant right now, $20,000 from EL Cord. That's not going to go a long ways. So we don't think we're going to have enough to start putting them up on Veterans Parkway path. Kiosks, we would like to update the Cottonwood Park map panel. There's a couple of errors on it. We feel like it doesn't show, it shows Veterans Parkway, but not Veterans Parkway path. And it shows Rosewood as still a golf course, not the nature study. And I want to make one thing very, a big thing with us. We aren't just building a trail. We're building a trail that we want to connect to the community. So we want to be connecting up to other multi-use paths that then connect up to the single track trails, to the open space. So that's really important to us. And one of the things that we want to show on all the maps panels that we put up is what else is connected to the community. Like one of the things we want to show are the museums and other things that are in the community off of the trail. So one of the things we'd like to update this map that shows the museum in Sparks and how it connects to the trail, how you can get off the trail to get to the museum or anything else in Sparks. Then also we are in discussions with Tahoe Pyramid Trail and One Truckee River and Truckee Meadows Parks Foundation to hopefully, I know we're all short of funds, that's the big issue, create a new kiosk at the Veterans Parkway Tahoe Pyramid Trail intersection. And also we, 7 years ago when we first created the route, we looked at the depot, the Amtrak depot, which would have been the end of the trail, but the neighborhood wasn't so nice. So we had decided that City Plaza was going to be the end of the trail. Things have changed. Now with the new Truckee River master new plan for the Truckee River area, City Plaza is going to be changing. I assume you've all seen that new vision. So we're reevaluating whether or not the Amtrak depot might be a better end for the trail. The neighborhood's changing and that might be the logical. So we're looking at that. We want to meet with the city council member for that area to discuss that. So, so there's a lot going on. Changes happen. Steamboat Valley. We applied for a federal active transportation infrastructure investment program grant last year, just a year ago. We did not receive that grant. And unfortunately, it was a $950,000 grant. So if you look at that orange line from the black dot, that is on private property. There's a sewer line going through that area. The property owner happens to be on our board of directors. He's very much in favor of that sewer line that's going through his property being paved as a multi-use path, as our multi-use path, taking bicycles and pedestrians off of Old 395. Then he has an easement from that from the north end of the sewer line over to Geiger Grade Road. That was the grant to get over there and then connect up over to the south end of Veterans Parkway, which that's our alternative route. So that was for the design for that connection there, which would bypass Mount Rose intersection and Geiger roundabout for bicyclists and pedestrians, which is a really good idea if you've never had to bicycle or walk that. So we didn't get that grant, but we are now working with Shana Reinhardt who is with the Governor's Office of Governor's Office of Federal Assistance. And she's helping us develop a new business plan for the Historic Virginia Truckee Trail, and we'll be looking at finding alternative financing for that. And then if you look at the black line below the orange line, that's the other private property owner that is between the top one and the Steamboat Hot Springs. He also has the sewer line, and it looks like he's gonna also agree to having his section paved, which will take us all the way down to the hot springs. We will be discussing with them going through the Steamboat Hot Springs all the way down to Rhodes to get bicyclists and pedestrians off of that section of Old 395, which is will be a real boon. Land Trust, last round of Conserve Nevada got a grant for $193,000, I think it was, to purchase part of that property to protect Steamboat buckwheat. And I just talked to him yesterday, and that's going through the process. Also, Nevada Forestry has applied for a SNPLMA grant to purchase more of that property. So west of the Steamboat Creek, a lot of his property has that Steamboat Valley buckwheat on it. And both of those, Forestry and Land Trust, are very much in favor of us having that multi-use path along that section. So that's really good. So all of that's going forward, we hope. And we've heard rumors from a couple of very reputable sources that the Allen Canyon area, if you know that, where the railroad went, and that's between Pleasant Valley and Steamboat Valley, and those property owners are ready to consider easements for the trail through their property. So we're really hopeful that that will happen too, so that the trail doesn't have to go up and over that hill where the East Lake turnoff is. So Pleasant Valley, we are at the Chocolate Nugget Factory. Usually the last Saturday of the month, we will be there this Saturday, counting bicyclists and pedestrians. And we have a petition we've started just actually a month ago to convince NDOT to diet down Old 395 through Pleasant Valley and give us one of those extra 4 lanes that they really don't need anymore, for a multi-use path for bicyclists and pedestrians. And then maybe from Pagnini Lane in Steamboat Valley to finish off from Rhodes to Allen Canyon. So we then would have multi-use path all the way from the intersection of 580 and Old 395 to Veterans Parkway, which would be really a big boon. That's then let me tell you that petition, we've got just a month, and we're getting a lot of signatures. It's very popular. So next, Washoe Valley. We've already had some discussions with BLM regarding the old Virginia and Truckee rail beds across Winters Ranch. They would very much like to see that happen. We would love to see it happen. Money's going to be the big issue. But if you're driving north on 580 from Carson City through Washoe Valley and you see the sign for the chocolate factory, if you glance to the right, you can see the old rail bed going right through that valley. And we also would really like to see that the Washoe Valley Scenic Byway Corridor Management Plan that was developed, I don't know what, 20 years ago, and nothing's been done with that. There's a lot in that plan we would like to see happen and become part of the historic Virginia and Truckee Trail. We've been working with NDOT for quite a few years to get wayfinding signs up along Old 395. Right now it's share the road, but we need our wayfinding signs along there. And we've been working with Washoe County Parks to get that. And we keep going around and around and we're still waiting for them for that to happen. But eventually our goal is that through Washoe Valley, we will also eventually have a multi-use path from Hobart Road all the way to Veterans Parkway. That's our goal someday. Beyond Washoe County, just so you know, in the assembly, there was Assembly Bill 32 regarding the Commission for the Reconstruction of the Virginia and Truckee Railway, the tourist train that goes from Carson City to Virginia City. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but what I'm going to tell you is that Carson City and Story County have been supporting that train for hundreds of thousands of dollars. It does not pay for itself. And they basically are done. It did not make its way all the way through the legislature, but now discussions are going to start about what's going to happen. We have tried to work with the commission for the last 7 years about building a trail with the rail, which would have helped the railroad, because if we could have gotten that trail built, a lot of people who would have never bought a ticket for the train would have bought tickets to put their bicycle on the train to Virginia City to ride their bicycles back down. They would not work with us. Now they're more than happy to work with us. But it may be too late. We are now stakeholders in those discussions. There will be meetings from now on till the end of the year. There is Carson City has a bond that they've been paying for that expires at the end of the year. They will not be renewing that bond. So we are stakeholders in the discussions till the end of the year. We're not sure what will happen. If they can find somebody else to start supporting that train, it may continue, in which case we may be building the trail with the rail. If it doesn't, we may be building the trail all the way to Virginia City, which will definitely help Virginia City. We'll see what happens. We'll keep you all posted on that one. And we have submitted a Conserve Nevada grant. This is the second time we will do it. We almost got it last time, but they didn't have enough money. This year, the Conserve Nevada bucket went from 3 million to 20 million. It's in the budget. I've heard that it went through. I haven't been able to confirm that yet. But there was 18 million in requests last time. With the federal situation, it'll be even more people requesting for it. So I don't know, we'll see. But to do the first engineering studies to put the bridge back over the Carson River to connect Carson and Douglas County. What will happen is two things. Once we get this, even before we get this trail completed, we already connect to the Tahoe Pyramid Trail. This will encourage more and more people to use alternative transportation. for errands, meetings, recreation, and going to work. The other thing is, especially once we connect all the way from Tahoe Pyramid Trail and Minden, when we get to Minden, we will connect to the Martin Slough, which will take us all the way to Gardnerville. So once it's completed, then it will we will connect all the way from the dam at Lake Tahoe to Gardnerville. Douglas County has on their plan to add another multi-use path from our trail to Genoa. And once the Tahoe Pyramid Trail gets to Pyramid Lake, we will attract visitors from all over the world for 1 to 2 week biking and end-to-end hiking trips. This will bring jobs and revenue like you wouldn't believe. And I have even come up with a 5 to 7 day trips now that we could be doing right now. And we will connect with very short little off from the trail, pretty much all of the museums in Washoe, Carson, Douglas, and Story County. So become members, support us. We need all the help we can get. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I love your passion and your vision. Boy, you are busy. So any questions that anyone has?
One of the things I'll tell you, I just had my 77th birthday. And my motto now is, I may not be there to cut the last ribbon, but it will be cut.
Thank you very much. And I think what was passed out is the ability for people to sign up and send you money. So everybody has that with them. Oh, okay.
Well, this is Commissioner Rhodey. I do have a couple of questions that Ms. Emberson I'm not sure how to say your name. Inverson. Well, one thought I had is, first of all, this is an overwhelming and totally admirable mission that you're on. And I think you're my new hero. But the next thing I wondered is, will these trails, or do the existing ones exist on Google Maps? And is there any rating as to their difficulty, so people who aren't quite up to the task of a certain trail won't try to undertake one?
Some of it is on Google Maps. They will all be on Trail Link on the Rails to Trails website. And I can tell you the rating, because railroads never like to go over 4% grade. So they're easy. And our goal is that this trail will be 90 to 95% paved multi-use paths. Now, in the Carson River Canyon, because it's a more rural area, it may be gravel. But probably for a cruiser bike, fine. But because if you've never been in the Carson River Canyon, it's gorgeous. It's our own little mini Grand Canyon. And if you go in the afternoon, there's this green lichen on the rocks on the canyon walls, and it glows just this gorgeous green color. So it's just beautiful. So yeah, we have a lot to offer.
Well, on these trails, will it say, for instance, the distance if you're trying to go from Carson to Virginia City?
Yeah, the kiosk maps will be placed every about 5 to 10 miles, depending on how straight it is. If there's no turns, it'll be 10 miles, but if there's turns, it'll be every 5 miles. And there'll be also interpretive panels. We already have some in Carson City put up all of Carson City already has wayfinding signs. We don't have map panels yet. But with interpretive panels are being put up, will be put up all along with the history of the Virginia Truckee Railroad, the history of the First Peoples, and the history of mining and ranching and any other events. And each panel will be distinctly different of every other panel. No two will be the same. And if you do the Tahoe Pyramid Trail, you've probably been past the spot where the Virginia and Truckee Railroad crossed over the Truckee River and not even realized it. We can't put a bridge there because that's too expensive. And the hotel on the other north side of the river won't let us go through their lobby. But we will be putting big interpretive panels that will tell you the history of the Virginia and Truckee Railroad. So,
Great. Thank you again.
thank you.
Very
Well,
nice.
I have
that's
one
good.
more
Oh, that's
question.
why You're not done yet. Right over here, up on the panel.
I think I also heard someone on Zoom, but Donna, you mentioned the Sparks Museum. Could you elaborate on kind of like what you're gonna do, connecting that to the trails, or?
Just in the map panel, it will show you
Okay.
how to get to that.
Got you.
And that would be the way with all the museums along the route.
Understood. I'm a board member there, so I have to ask to make sure I was on the same page. So.
But it's nice to have those things on the map panels because right now you go with most trails and it just shows you the trail you're on, but not how you can get to things off of the trail. And we want to be able to connect the community to the trail.
Understood. I love it.
Oh, one other thing I forgot. If you have any events going on that you think, oh, gee, maybe the HVTT should be at that event, let me know. Thank you.
Dammers, did we have a comment online? Someone have? We heard a ding.
Well, Commissioner Rhodey, again, I had one more question, and I don't know if Ms. Iverson needs to answer or someone else can, but are Washoe County Parks working with her? Is there any sort of link? Washoe County Parks, the board that I serve on.
Yes.
Okay, that makes me happy. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. We'll move on. Item 7, general business items. I don't have any that were on there, so we'll move down to 8, public comment. So this is the last part for public comment. This item is for either public comment on any act or any of the items we had on the agenda or not. So is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment one more time? I don't see any. Any online? I don't see. With that, we'll go to 8.2, comments from the commission. So we'll go commission by commission, and I'll also open it since we have our policymakers here. If there's any updates or anything from staff or anything related to the commission or from commissioners, any updates. So we'll start with City of Reno. Any comments or anything from our council member or from commissioners? Council member?
Yeah, thanks so much, Mr. Chair. I'll just share my appreciation for you all being here in our annual meeting. Hopefully we make this a little more. It sounds like we have things in the works so we can continue making the service plan a reality and getting towards better levels of service for our community. So just encourage you to continue to stay engaged and help us make sure that these issues that we're working on continue to be shed in the best of light, especially when they come up to our policy decision makers and that they have the best information to make sure that we continue to support our parks and recreation throughout our whole regions. Thank you all again for being here tonight.
Great, thank you. City of Reno commissioners, any comments or anything for the good of the order? I know we have Cheryl still online. Anything, Cheryl?
I just want to encourage everyone, young and older, to participate in the Junior Rangers program. It's been phenomenal to attend all the events, and it's a great program for our community.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go to City of Sparks. Any comments from commissioners or council member or staff? We've just given you a lot of work tonight. I know that, so. All right, we'll go to Washoe County.
Yes, Commissioner Jones, I'd just like to thank all the staff for all the departments and all the hard work. Thank you, Nathan, for putting all these presentations together. I think this has just been fantastic, and we have a direction to move forward. And I hope that we can all come together and just get this thing moving. Thank you.
Well said. Anything else? All right, I will echo those comments. I've been on this commission for 3 years, and this is the third time that we've had our joint meeting, and it's something I look forward to. And again, it's after hours for all staff, and so I do appreciate what you put in. I think this is good that we continue to meet regardless of the district discussion. I think it's really good for the area. It's good for us to know what's going on. So to staff and fellow commissioners and our supporters in the audience of this, we appreciate you coming tonight. So with that, I'm going to entertain. We'll go commission by commission to adjourn the meeting. So from the city of Reno, can I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
No, sorry. I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Cheryl, beat you.
Cheryl Guinan, for the record.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? I'll pass it to the city of Sparks.
Motion for City of Sparks to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning the meeting? Okay, any opposed? Okay, meeting adjourned.
And Washoe County.
Washoe County, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is Commissioner Gertler. I'd like to present a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.